I'm Sigfús Magnússon from Men&Mice, and I'm going to talk a bit about automation and extensibility with Micetro. Micetro is like an orchestration overlay DNS, DHCP, and IPAM solution used by a number of large organizations. And what they have in common, most of them, is that they want obviously to run their network in a reliable way. And one of the things in recent years that the tools they've been using is scripting and to provision the network as a code. And in this session, I'm going to talk about Terraform a bit and demonstrate how we can use Terraform to create a cookie cutter site definition in Micetro. I'm going to log into this demo environment here. Now, in the IPAM section here, we can see that if I scroll down here, we can see this is a typical site with this organization I'm referring to. So it is what they do is they allocate a /22 to a site, and the site is a branch basically. And we don't see a lot here because it's I might do a bit of a zoom out. So we can see that the site contains the /22, which is now carved out in or blocked like a /29 for different purposes, and then scopes, and it's for voice. It's for, you can actually see here a bit to the right what we're doing, point-to-point servers, voice over IP, clients, wireless, and so on. And this company was actually fortunate enough to make all the networks basically the same. So they have different branches. The branches are of like a similar sizes, but they're all basically the same. That's really good. It means that you can when you need to troubleshoot something, you just go into the site. You know that the 192/27 is actually the the vendors live on that network segment in all the sites. So when you create a new site, you want it to be the same as all the other sites. How do you do that? You can obviously go here into Micetro, and you can just start to provision. You can go here, and you can say, okay, from the /11, I need to allocate a subrange, and I want to allocate a /22. And I just need, so we don't need a lot, we just need one. And it will just start here. And in the small red, it's a really small one. So we can have the tool provision the /22 from us from the large block. And then we just trust the admin that he will go through the spreadsheet or through the playbook and create the records in the right place and so on and so forth. But there is a better way than this. So we can use something like Terraform to help us out. So I have here on my Linux box, and hopefully you can see this. I have this Terraform thingy, which creates the network for me, and using Micetro. And I see that there's one problem with my script here, and I'm going to do a bit of a change in Micetro just to make sure that we are good to go. But we can run this and check it out how it works. So let me just go here, and what is I see that one of the custom properties I created has an illegal or a name that I don't like. This one here in my script called actually VLAN ID with a space. Okay, so we are, I think, good to go. If I'm not mistaken. So this is our first step here. So this is an IP address for the reference. So basically, network, the network I was referring to is not, which I used for when I was creating this, doesn't exist, so this cannot fail. So I might just as well go here and change the script so it won't actually try to. So what this did now is that it created the new blocks. So if I go now into the IPAM, we can see that the the 1029 has been created, and it's called new site as the Terraform set, and it is chopped up into all the different sizes, just like what was what the plan was basically, because in this, at least for a large organization, you don't want to be too inventive when you're creating new networks. They should all be the same. The easiest troubleshooting, also configuration of all the network equipment, and so on.
Do you have APIs for things other than Terraform and Ansible?
Yes. This is our RESTful API, the Swagger, and we can use that to make all modifications to the system. So basically, it's API first. So everything I've been demonstrating is going through the public API. So UI goes through the public API as well.
Do you find that customers are using API more or UI more?
We find they're using UI more. There are a few that are experimenting with the API, but we've had the SOAP API for a long time, really long time, and added the REST API for let's say 6-8 years back, and still we have the customer retention of like 95%. Most of them are using the UI to make changes, and pretty atomic changes. But if you're going to do mass changes, you might use the REST API or the PowerShell plugin or something.
Do you think that reflects the nature of the companies that are using the solution, or do you think that that's something inherent to the market for DNS and IPAM solutions?
I think it might tell a story about the customers. So we see that, for example, with higher education, for example, that is more heavily on the API side. Tech companies slightly, but retail, the classic enterprise, they just want to use the UI.
Yeah, because sometimes a product will sometimes find its own market, or a market will find its own product, and I think that's what's happening here. Yeah.
Yeah, our customers are from the largest enterprises in the world down to small Icelandic customers. So it's and across all segments. So we haven't been able to identify the ideal customers from that perspective, because it seems to cater to a lot of customers. But yeah, I think maybe the UI is simple enough, and also you have the import capabilities, for example, to do mass changes. So.
Would you consider Micetro to be a source of truth for your DDI, or would you prefer for us to think of it as a management tool that basically does it all for you? For example, if I want to get the state of my DHCP, well, not DHCP, that's a poor example. Get the state of my DNS, should I look here or should I look to some other source of truth and make sure that that is updated through Micetro?
Sadly, I think the answer to this is both. So you do all the changes through Micetro, but we are constantly monitoring the environment and synchronizing with it. So if you open up a scope or open a network, it will be the most recent data on the servers that are being presented to you. So it is the single source of truth. Because also, keep in mind that if you go into the DHCP server and open up the scope there, it's going to be a pretty isolated view on only the scope. Whereas if you open the scope in Micetro, it's also going to use grab information from DNS and pair it with the IP addresses. It's also going to grab information from the router, the app tables, and also provide that information. So it's a more like an in-depth source of truth.
Is there any audit reports on user activities?
Yes. So you can go in and you can pull both through the reporting. You can say, give me a list of all changes done by a particular user on a particular day or to an object. you can also just go in here and you can take a network and say, just view the history of it. You can see that when it just was created here by Terraform. This is slowly gonna obviously build up, and you have the information about the changes, but you can also go into the admin section here into logging, and this is the just the whole logging, whole log of the object history, but you can filter and also get report on activity.
Do you also have notifications and alerts associated with this?
We have for some of this, but not in general for all of it.
How is licensing done? We saw you add keys at the beginning, right? Is it done by module? Is it done by count? I mean, how does that work?
So again, both. So you have the core modules, like go into the configuration. You have a core modules, which are the DNS and IPAM. And if you add the DNS module, for example, you can then use all the supported DNS servers. The limitation will be on, so basically the modules you have license to, and then the amount of data in the different modules. So usually it's by, the enterprises like to think of this like a number of active IPs. So that's gonna be the count of the what you're able to manage through Micetro. So basically, how many IPs can you manage through it? And it's usually a deployment. When we ask a customer or prospect, how many IPs do they have? They say, okay, good question. I mean, this is the reason why we are deploying Micetro, because we have no idea. So it will work. The tool will work fine, even though you have exceeded the license, and then you do a true up. But it's customers are like it's in bulk of 1,000 IPs or something, the licensing.
And just on the licensing then, is that against the number of managed IPs in subnets, or number of actual IPs where you can see a DHCP entry or a DNS record, that type of thing?
Yeah, so it is the number of active IPs on the network, and that is, for example, a DHCP record. And there's some like IoT, BYOD licensing also, but in general, even though it's in a DHCP, it's regarded as an active IP in use because there's a DNS entry and there's a lease reservation, etc.